Commission may please. At this time, we shall offer evidence in support of specification 47, paragraph 1, otherwise known as the Fort Santiago cases. We shall call the first witness, Padre de Tavera. Will you state your name, age, and nationality?
Joaquin Pardo de Tavera, 61 years of age, Filipino.
Sir, in this connection, I desire to announce that I may have to speak a little louder than usual because the witness is somewhat hard of hearing. What's your present position?
Chief of the Division of Investigation of the Philippine Commonwealth.
Since when were you the Chief of the Investigation Division of the Philippine Commonwealth?
Since 1938, up to the time of the Japanese occupation.
Did you have any contact with members of the Japanese Army?
Never.
In March 1942, where were you?
I was at my home.
Do you know of any happening that disturbed your peace at the time?
Yes. At about 6:30 or 6:45 on March 2nd, 1942, some Japanese entered my room at Calle M.H. del Pilar, 914. Pulled me out of bed where I was with Mrs. Tavera, and without giving me time to do anything except put on hasty clothes, took me to Fort Santiago.
The defense, if they can understand, all right.
Then they used to revive me, put me up, and give me the same treatment. They gave me that treatment for about 4 or 5 times, and every time I asked why, and the answer was, you know very well, and they kept on beating. After a certain time, a certain Sergeant Imai, I recall his name and his face very well, took some kind of a blackjack, cleverly made of a steel coil with a big lump of lead at the end, and he beat me with that for about 15 minutes until I again collapsed, because that coil, when he gives the swinging movement, wraps itself around you like a snake, and wherever that lead hits you, well, you'll remember it all your life. I was black and blue from the top of my head to my heels, and still I didn't know why I was arrested.
Will you proceed?
Then I was taken down to that cell and attached on my chest some kind of paper with bits of wire and Japanese characters on it. And according to a Chinese prisoner who was in the cells and knew also a little bit of Japanese, he told me that it said, no food, no water, under severe penalty.
Were you given any food or any water?
For 8 days, no, sir.
Kindly proceed.
The following day, they took me up and they tied me a rope around my neck, going to my belt. My heels were tied together, pulled to my waist behind and tightly. So I was there on my knees, squatting, and I was a heavy fellow because I weighed about 180 when I entered Fort Santiago. And in that position, I was investigated. Whenever my answer did not please the Japanese, I got the usual treatment. Few slaps, was hit with a piece of wood about that size. I think it was one of the leftover bars of a cell they were building.
May we put in the records the fact that the witness indicated a piece of wood which would be about 2.5 by 2.5 inches.
More or less. They hit me with that piece of wood in the back of my head, on the side of the head. That's why I had lost my hearing on the left side. On another occasion, while I was on the floor also, because they never investigated me except squatting on the floor, tied up, they hit me so severely that they broke my nose. They tried to stop the bleeding by inserting plugs made of cardboard into my nose. And when that failed, they took me back to the cell. That same afternoon, I was taken up again to a room beside the library, and under tables that were used by the Americans to keep their maps, their military maps, tables that are very low, I was chained like a dog. They didn't even allow my belly to rest on the floor. Every time that I sagged, and I was a heavy man and tired, without food, without water, they kicked me with the military boots on the side of my body.
Will you proceed, please?
On another occasion,
Just a minute. While you were being kicked this way under these tables, were there any other people present?
I couldn't see anybody, but I heard them talking with two persons whom later turned out to be two agents of the division.
Which division?
Division of Investigation.
Go ahead, please.
And very clearly I heard the following words uttered by their interpreter, Mr. Well, I don't remember the name.
All right.
I haven't got a very good memory for Japanese names or faces.
Go ahead, please.
I heard him say, "Look at your chief there under the table. He's not a human being anymore. He is an animal. He's sentenced to death. So anything that you may say against him cannot hurt him anymore." Then I was taken down again and placed in the cell, and the cavalry started all over again. They would leave me alone for a few days, then they would come and take me back and take me up and take me down, slap me around, beat me. One day they called me, they sat me in a very nice chair, and the same Sergeant email made a diagram of how I was going to be executed on the lunatic. How I would be executed on the lunatic. He made a drawing showing the different places occupied by criminal Filipino and Japanese people, where I was going to be myself. Then he placed in front of me a jar containing ice cubes, a packet of American cigarettes, and matches, and left me alone. When he came back about half an hour later, maybe, he asked me why I didn't drink the water or smoke the cigarettes. Of course, I'm not a damn fool anymore. I know the Japanese methods, and I didn't dare touch it although I have been without water for a long time. Then he asked me if I had anything else I wanted to say before being executed. And I told him, well, that is very nice. I believe that if you notify the TVT, which was the famous newspaper of the execution, It would be a very nice movie to take as a souvenir. And I got a hell of a beating. Excuse me.
What's the TVT?
TVT used to be the official organ of the Japanese at that time.
Newspaper, you mean?
Yes,
Chain of newspapers.
yes.
Was Jiu-Jitsu ever applied to you? Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes. They tried judo on me 2 or 3 times, but without any results, because I know jiu-jitsu and judo, and I know how to fall down without being hurt.
Was any damage done to your thumb?
Yes.
In what way?
On one occasion, they got hold of my hand, started asking questions, and as I wouldn't answer, they put up this thumb until it snapped.